Mama, this is from Mama, her side of things. They were down at the Lee Brothers in Cutoff on the by side, the dance hall. And she had, like they would pay so much on, she called it the jitney. The Mr. Terrebonne, I think P.T. Terrebonne would take them, you'd pay a quarter or whatever. Take them to the dance hall. So here she was, loving to dance, and she had seen him.
Yeah.
And she loved his curly hair. But she knew he was from down the bayou. You might have to edit some of this if I say something about the people on the bayou, but okay, I love them all. And he was at the mirror, and I can picture Fonzie. He was combing his hair. Checking it out, had the beautiful curls. Of course, he put that Brill cream or whatever. And she asked him if he had a comb she could borrow. So he loaned her the comb. And then he asked her to dance. And the rest was history. She was 14 and he was 19. Yeah. Yeah. Because they got married, that would have been like maybe in the spring or early summer, spring I think, and then they got married in October the 6th.
Yep.
And they both turned 15 and 20 because they were 5 years.
Yep, 5 years.
15 and 20 at the end of the month.
Yep.
So that was funny. And that she had a pregnancy that she lost
Before Elridge.
Before Elridge.
First boy.
Yeah. And then she never spoke of that ever. Ever.
I recall going to the cemetery behind Holy Rosary Catholic Church to a child's grave.
See, I don't remember that.
Never knew who it was. And it was just a baby. Just a baby. They wanted to pay their respects to this baby. And I realized after I was grown that was her baby.
See, I don't remember that.
Do you know how far along she was?
No. And anybody that would know to ask, they're gone. Ain't Lucci.
But she's not.
Say again? She miscarried. So she can't have been too far along. But that's what happened. So, and then, like, Elridge was born in 51. I think they got married in 48 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
So eventually they had Elridge. And then they had moved to Texas. Because he worked on boats, out of Texas. And then he eventually moved back to Louisiana. But she said one night they couldn't get Elridge to go to sleep. He and I talked about that the other day. Couldn't get him to go to sleep, so they got in the car, put him in the car, ride around. He fell asleep. So the next night, same thing. So she said after a few days, he wouldn't go to sleep unless they rode him in the car.
Yep. That was a bad habit that was started. Yes.
Her and Elridge had plenty of experiences.
Yeah.
I remember us going to Aunt Mavis. Talked Mama into going to remember the old Knights of Columbus building in Cutoff on 308? It was across from one of the little pontoon bridges.
We used to go play bingo over there.
Right. So they had, it was called a prayer meeting.
Yeah. So,
and I use that loosely. It was dim, I remember that. They had a guy who played the guitar. People prayed, kind of, I guess, And it was the beginnings of kind of like a charismatic thing going on.
Yes.
And Mama was so skeptical. She was like, she went and she liked it. And after a while, I think Aunt Mavis had stopped going for a while. I don't know why, but I want to say she had stopped. Mama kept on going.
Yep, we kept going. We sure did.
And then Geraldine, Rosette's mama, Geraldine.
Yeah.
Geraldine had kind of got involved there, I think. Maybe she was to begin with, now that I think about it.
I don't remember.
And that she helped Mama along.
Yeah.
Understanding that there was more to the spiritual world than what we knew as kids growing up.
And so we go to the Bible studies at Broussard's.
Yeah, she started doing that. Broussard Studio.
To the studio.
Yes.
Yep, and
they were having Bible study and prayer meetings and whatever. Yes. So that started that kind of snowball. But Jerry had invited Mama. She lived in Houma, so invited her some of the church goings on there that she had gotten involved with. I'm not sure what or which. And then Mama wound up going to, they're having a revival. Geraldine asked her to go, I think. The revival at the Pentecostal church in Homa, Brother James's church. And I think she had gone, and then she got Elridge to go. And Elridge tells this part of the story of, we went, he said, I sat in the back with Mama and Geraldine, and Brother James, who had no idea who Elridge was or who they were, he said, in the middle of the preaching, he turned, pointed to the back where he was, and said, and that debt you owe, pay it. Elridge said, nobody knew that I owed some guy, he owed some money somewhere, and he had said, I'm not paying it. That day or something like that. He may be able to tell it better.
Wow.
Yeah. But Mama kept going.
Well, I remember that.
And so did Elridge.
Yeah, Elridge and eventually Clayton Sheremy got a hold of him on the boats.
They were on the boat.
Yep, and I remember Clayton and his wife coming to visit.
Carol.
They were injured. Carol. Dad was on the boat because this would not have taken place in our house with him home. And they came and they had a prayer meeting. And that was my first experience in watching the Spirit really moving.
Yeah.
Seriously moving.
Heard some of the stories, yeah.
I sat at the dining room table completely freaked out for what I was witnessing. Like, holy Moses. Because we went to a church in Grand Isle where John Thevenot was. And that was my first experience with literal holy roller. Because John was rolling.
Really? I never saw.
On the floors, facing on that aisle up against the wall. Oh.
I've never seen that, ever.
But Clayton decided that he was going to show me Acts 2:38, which I'll explain me the plan of salvation. And that dude could do it in like 10 minutes time.
He was so sweet.
Everything. He was. And he asked me, do you understand where I'm at? You with me? Are you with me?
As he went.
And if I said no, okay. And he'd go back again. And he'd
Right.
Until I finally just had to say, yeah, I understand, because I was freaking out about everything that was going on. Like, I understand. I did not. I just was tripping out over all of it, Catholic, charismatic.
It was very different from what we knew.
Very different.
Elridge said when here he is on the boat offshore, and his bunkmate Clayton Sheremy played the guitar, and so Elridge on the guitar, they just play music, and he said, or Elridge would play, and then Clay, whatever it was, they're tying up the boat, and Elridge said, "Wonder they got any good bars around here? Somewhere in Texas, maybe they were." And Clayton said, "I don't know, but they got a good church around here." Elridge said, "What?" It was so foreign to him. What do you mean you got a good church? What's that even mean? But yeah, Clayton was quite instrumental in getting Elridge to find truth, which led Mama.
And Brother Grantham was pastoring a church there in La Rose.
He came to pastor a church in La Rose, and Clayton got Elridge to go and listen. And he said, I went to the bar. He said, I'm going to drown out his voice. He said, I started drinking. And the more I drank, the louder he got.
Yep.
He said, I finally quit. In self-defense, I quit. But yeah, Clayton at Mama's house. Mama was hungry and didn't realize.
Yeah.
And she accepted she had visited several. I remember when, was that preacher out of New Orleans? Him and Jimmy Swaggart had gotten at it, at each other.
Marvin Gorman.
Yes. Mama would go there.
Yes, we went. Yes.
A lot of things, and she'd go.
And we went to New Orleans Superdome a couple times. That televangelist was supposed to be New Orleans at the Superdome. And we went, me, Mom, Momo, and Miss Mabel.
Yeah, because Mabel was,
Yep. And
heavily
we
involved.
went a couple of times, and they left quite disappointed because all the advertisement and the preacher wasn't there.
Aw.
And then we went to Marvin Gorman's church multiple times in New Orleans.
I know she'd go for that, and all that. And but the Lord used a different hook, knowing that she would follow if Elridge told her, and she would follow. And I can remember she was going to the lady I just said passed away to that church. There was other people pastoring there, but then her heart was kind of at Brother Grantham's church, a little old broken down building we had in back of IGA Lede supermarket.
Lede supermarket behind Double
D's, and so I can remember Mama go and drop you and Mama off across the bayou at that church, and then going on
She'd go to the other one.
to the Pentecostal church behind Double D's. And yeah, but I know the story of Elridge kneeling by the bed, that back bedroom that was ours, that in Clayton, it was like a glowing, Clayton was glowing or something.
Yeah.
Everybody involved said the same thing. And Carol was saying, touch him, Clayton, touch him.
I was there that night. I was there. That
Said
was
he laid hands on Elridge and whew,
that was the
spoke in
night
tongues.
Clayton decided
Yeah.
he was going to 10 minutes time. Told me everything about it. But now I'll tell you that
And Mama followed and she
Mama
stayed.
followed, she did, but when Dad would be home, he'd get so angry, and he'd threaten her and tell her, "You're not going to that church."
His mama
Right,
made him
yeah.
promise as a child, as a young person, never to change his religion. And I always thought, what was
wondered
going
why.
on at that time?
Yeah.
But then, later years, you learn of things like, do you remember Brother Eno down the bayou? Him and his brother, and there was an older man that Daddy and all knew that got involved, that came, he had been from there, went away, came back, and was sort of evangelizing the area.
Oh, okay.
And, back then you just didn't do that. That was a
that was
scam. And she
probably
made,
why.
I'm thinking this, because Daddy and all used to run around with Brother Eno and his
Yeah,
brother.
yeah, they were all
good friends.
Perhaps even a distant relative. No,
Yes.
I think a distant relative.
Yeah, something like that. And so I'm thinking that she said, you're not going to do this, and made him promise.
Well,
and he had the hardest time with that.
Yeah, I remember him telling Mama, "You leave, you come back, the door's gonna be locked. You're not coming back in." She said, "Get in the car." Got in the car and went to church. And our friend pulled up. I'm like, "Where are we gonna go if that door's locked?" She got in. He let her in, but he was angry. He hated. She went anyway. "I'm sorry. See you later."
And then he mellowed
It's a chance
enough
she took.
that he accepted that we were all,
Yeah.
and he liked Brother Grantham. He gave, he did things for the church, that kind of thing. Wasn't really keen on going until he got so sick.
Yeah. But Brother Grantham never gave up. He'd always just stop
Brother
by.
Grantham loved him and was kind to him and respectful, and
Yep.
he liked him.
Yep.
Everybody liked Daddy. You either hated him or you liked him. More, it was a fear of him.
Fear of if I cross him.
Yeah,
That's why we listened, and Mama would say, "I'm going to tell Daddy when he gets back." Holy cow, is he going to do me what I saw him do that guy?
Yeah,
Oh,
we knew what he was capable of.
shut it down, and he never
turned any of that on any of us, ever.
No, I remember one time he was working on the boats, David was working on the boats with him, and we had all gone. Brandy was very little. I don't think Gabriel was born yet.
Probably not.
And Brandy was cutting up or something, and she wasn't listening to you, and you told Dad, "Would you do something?" So he grabbed the paper towel off.
Yeah.
I remember there was a water cooler. Grabbed the paper towel off the roll above it, and he whacked it across her butt, a dry paper towel. Brandy fell to pieces. I mean, that was it. And he looked at you.
It almost killed him too.
Yeah, he said, "Don't ever ask me.
Don't
to
ever
do
ask
that
me to
again."
do that again. Come with
Ever.
Papa,
Yeah, and he never.
I used to tell that to Gabriel. Come here, let me whip you with this paper towel. Leave me alone. Anyway, yeah.
Kids.
Yeah,
That
a lot
was
of things. I'm trying to think of.
Elridge tells stories of things that Dad and Dave Fanlon on a motorcycle would
Yeah,
get
they were
into.
up here.
Went into a plate glass window at a store.
Yes.
Golden Meadow.
On a motorcycle, they
I'm
sure
like,
did.
oh my word.
Daddy said when he was some going north or south up and down the bayou way back in the day. He said used to be the cars had one
I
headlight.
remember that story.
He
Yep.
said he sees two lights coming. He's like, that's two motorcycles. Watch, I'm gonna pass in between them, scare
He was
them.
on a motorcycle. Head on.
It was the new cars had the two
Two
headlights.
lights.
He hit that car. I'm like, Dad, you didn't hurt yourself? He'd laugh. He's like, no,
It's all right.
no. I didn't know they had two lights now.
They got into stuff. He lived a rough life.
He was
really
tough.
did. He was, yeah.
He
it made him
when he
tough.
was a kid, he had the two little brothers, right? And three little boys. Oh my gosh, can you imagine what they got into? And so their mama gonna fuss at them, gonna hit them with a paddle or a stick or whatever.
Switch, yeah.
He would take the blame for whatever went down, even though Garrison and Nolte might have been the culprits. he'd own up to it.
Yeah.
Like, Daddy, why did you do that? I didn't want her to hit them. That was the story of his
He
life.
protected.
All those fights he got into was for somebody else.
Defending.
Yes, taking up for that underdog.
Yep.
Garrison and T-Rap had got into some really ugly fight. They were enemies. You hit my brother? So here's Dad going after him like gangbusters. Well, after a bit, Garrison and T-Rap make up. They're friendly again, you know. Not Daddy and T-Rap.
No.
We be coming down the LaRose, West LaRose Bridge. That's West LaRose? The bridge?
Yes, yeah, the lift bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. West LaRose, yeah.
Coming down the bridge, and T-Rap would walk like from Double D's, and they had a bar, a saloon right there, and then he'd go by J.C. Falk when you go.
Yeah. Oh, I remember
And
that
he'd
place.
be walking.
Another place where Dad would take me for a ride, and he'd go sit at the bar and put me over here.
Ask Pookie about that.
Drank a few beers, and we'd come home. I'd lay down on the floor watching television, and Mom would come. Oh, I'm so glad, kid, and she'd whisper in my ear, "Did your dad drink some beer?" And I was mortified,
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't want to not. I won't say a word to him. I go, I was dying. I just knew I'd get the wrath of Dad for narking, but he never did. So she never told him.
I
But
mean, she
wanted-
should have known.
Well, she wanted to verify, but I'm like,
I mean-
seriously? He goes off, he's going to drink beer. That's Dad. That's who he was. But, yeah.
But he'd come home, when he'd come off the boat like that, he'd tie one on, and then he was good. Mm-hmm. You know, unless if Daddy got really upset about something, then he'd want to go have a beer or something, but, you know.
Oh, yeah, that was...
She just was afraid that he'd get into a fight like he normally did.
Normally, usually.
But
yeah.
he'd hit the brakes. He'd see T-Rap walking from the Double D's in towards it. He hit the brakes, and Mom would be like, "No, don't stop!" You know, because she knew. And then he'd get out the car, door wide open, go on. It was
He never
terrible.
forgave. He had
It was
a nasty
terrible.
temper. He really did. It was bad.
He didn't. I tell people, I said, my dad did not have a short fuse. He had no fuse.
No fuse.
0 to
and a
60.
long memory.
I saw him stone cold sober. This guy kept calling the house to get at Elridge. Remember the phone by the door on the wall?
Yes.
And he'd call, he'd ring the phone. "Dad, give me that phone." Daddy'd tell him off and hang up the phone. The guy would call back. He got so mad that he beat that phone off the wall, the plate, the whole thing. Stone cold sober. And he said, "Hello," told Elridge. Jim and Elridge got in the car and went. It was the guy from the Bidical Key.
Oh.
His son. Never called or bothered Elridge again.
I would imagine, no, yeah, that was, all it took was one time. One time. I remember we were going to Aunt Mavis, it was raining. Elridge was on a motorcycle, riding in front of us, we were following behind him. And just as you turn right to go under the bridge to go up their street, or down their street, Elridge took the curve. He was not going fast, it was slick, it was raining. Bam!
Like that.
Laid that motorcycle down right there in the curb. I thought Mom was going to have a heart attack.
Poor Mama. She was nervy about everything.
Yeah, it was bad. It kind of scared me. I thought it was really bad. He got up. So,
I mean, he put a Mustang, the Mustang he put in the bayou, didn't he? In the
I
canal?
don't know. Marilyn did that.
Marilyn put the Barracuda.
The Barracuda with
Her and
Pookie.
Pookie.
Thank God it was winter time and the water
Poor
was
Pookie.
way low. She never let any of us take off by ourselves with her.
No, you
After
think?
that was it.
Pookie, you have to get Pookie to tell the story. They had to bail out.
Yeah.
In the curve. They went in to buy a Barracuda.
That was a nice car too. Nice car. She was something.
Daddy called Garrison. We lived behind LCO. But Garrison, no, we're living across from the Billiards, from the Mr. Pierre.
Yeah.
Right on my list. And every morning, Mr. Pierre would come out and sit on that rocker right outside the door and rock early in the morning. So Daddy calls by Garrison and tells Mama, "Dis pas rien, don't say nothing." Oh, that's in French. That's bad about Pierre, huh? Garrison's like, "What?" Like early on a Sunday morning. About Pierre. What about Pierre? "Oh, but you didn't hear?" "No, I didn't hear what." "Pierre died last night." "Oh, no, come on." Garrison got weak. They were good friends, you know?
And there's some good people.
And he goes to the window. Pierre wasn't out, and the door had been shut. It wasn't wide open. The big screen door would left up. "Let me let you go." So Garrison gets dressed, goes across the street. And Miss Alice comes, his wife, Madame Pierre would come to, she came to the door, and Garrison's trying to tell her how sorry he is about you. And bless his heart, he's back there in the shadows in the background, and all of a sudden, that's how he laughed. Well, Garrison said a lot of things about Daddy at that point. Yeah.
That was a mean joke to play on somebody.
That was a rough one.
Until your neighbor passed away.
But he had called Piat, I forgot. He had called Piat and said, I'm going to play a joke and get us on. Don't go outside. Wait till he comes to the door. So, yeah.
That was crazy.
Silly jokes like that. So, you know where Pookie got it from.
Oh, yeah, the prankster. Well, the Daddy and Garrison, it was a race on Thanksgiving Day. They were both home at the same time to see who could call the other one first. Wish him happy birthday.
Pookie would hide inside the cabinets at the snack bar at my grandma's to scare old Mama.
Yep.
He'd moan and make sounds, and she was thinking she's hearing spirits, poor thing. She's superstitious, right?
Yep.
Oh, mon Dieu, she started crossing herself, and Pookie inside the cabinet. Because he was little bitty, he was slim. He'd get in.
He was a rascal. He really was. He was something. Now, I remember one time Mom and Dad were going, Mama was up the bayou, I guess. And this elders to my Diane. And they had Jimmy rigged all kind of stuff all over the house. That half brick wall with a fishing string through the hanging planter at the top, making stuff move. And the cabinet doors, I was under the sink in that cabinet. I was little.
Must have been.
And I forgot, it was something to do with something that was in that window right there by the sink. Until they all realized Momo's going to come home. We're going to kill her.
She'd have told me off in bless.
Yeah, we're going to kill her. Get out of there, get out of there, get out of there. Everything back because they want to scare Mom and Dad. But yeah.
One time the weather was so bad, we lived behind school, you could see it was green, the sky, you knew it was really ugly.
Yeah.
And she had gotten, Mama got so, she was shaking. Mama had that picture of, Jesus crossing the bridge with behind the kids or whatever. Anyway, she was touching that picture and praying, asking, please God, begging God. She was shaking like that. And Daddy, she had all of us scared of the weather.
Yeah.
And that was the turning point for me when I'm like, I knew it was bad, but we weren't in danger the way she was reacting. And it made me to realize she had that fear because of that tornado all those years ago.
Yeah.
But Daddy got upset and he fussed her in French, telling her to get a hold of herself, that it wasn't that bad, that she was going to tomber en faiblesse avec a heart attack, or something. And he got her to calm down and go sit down, but she was shook up. And that's the only time I ever saw Daddy speak rough to her.
Yeah.
Was trying to keep her from hurting herself. She just...
Well, you had to be firm with her at that point,
Yes, he was firm. He wasn't ugly. He just, telling. He called him out on the nest. Which they rarely spoke to each other. I don't know if they didn't like each other or what, but they got along.
They got along, yeah.
They just stayed in each other's corner.
Yep.
But she was very afraid of that,
She was afraid of weather, but that was it. The tornado was the hurricane. Mama talks about being in a hurricane. Maybe that's when one of us was little. One or two of us were little.
You were little when Hurricane Betsy?
It was the...
Because you were like about a year old?
Yeah.
Because Betsy was in 65 and we had to go to Raceland. Mama didn't want to stay at LCO because we were at LCO for Hurricane Hilda the year before. And then the tornadoes had hit and killed those people. It destroyed so much. Maria Sherol and what's his sister? Tutut.
Yeah.
They had gone there, evacuated to there because high ground.
Yeah.
But the tornadoes that were spawned, and they came in. I remember the Red Cross being there, and we were in the hallway, and they came in, and they were covered in mud. You could just see their eyes. And when old Mama realized that it was Maria and Tutut, she passed out. They had to catch her. I remember her passing out. So we went to Raceland for
Marie
Betsy.
was her sister-in-law.
Her sister-in-law. They were close. Her and Marie, and then
they were
her
very
sister.
close.
I don't remember Tutut's real name. They lived next door, Yeah,
I didn't know she wasn't blood relative till I was much bigger.
absolutely. To
Much
me, they
bigger.
were all
I
our
think it was
cousins.
all-
Everybody, aunts and whatever.
But down
all
the
lived in the same street.
Yeah, down as
Donc
everybody.
Sonny.
And
Donc Cabron.
Cabron and I can't think of her name. She always had her hair done up real pretty,
Yeah,
black hair, beautiful black
yeah.
hair, red fingernails.
Abdomen.
They go dancing every Friday night.
I
Or
can't
Saturday
think of her
night
name
at the-
either. This is our
Some
grandma's, our mama's siblings.
The
Abraham,
brothers,
Sonny,
Cheryl.
Cheryl, yeah.
And then her sister lived in the
Kata.
back.
What's Kata's real name? Olivia?
Olivia.
Maybe?
Yes,
I
something
think
like
so.
that.
Something,
like that,
yeah.
It was all family down the
Telani,
street. Everybody was
Eleanor.
related.
I'm missing
No,
somebody.
Telani was on
Nan was
Highway
Mighty
1 in the
Doors.
front. And
Yeah,
then
near the
Jarena
welcome
and other
in.
relatives were in the street
Jarena and
down,
Taunt Lawn, that's
down the
Jarena's
back.
mama.
Yeah,
They live down that street near the
Yep.
welcome in. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
remember that.
Just different people.